Welcome to Hire, Lead, and Chill.
All right, that's it. Well, I guess we are hire, lead, and chill. That's what they told me. It's almost 4 o'clock, so we're probably, you're going to have to do a little mouth to mouth to some people around. They're probably thinking this can't be starting early because that never happens. And I'm turning into an alien at the same time somehow. Let me do that. Oh, that won't work. That might work for some people, but let's see here. How's that? That's a little better. I get this crazy background. I don't know what's going on. We've got a super cool guest on today. So we'll get to hear Michael here in a little bit. He's wearing Dan Plata's Coors shirt, I think. So, I know Plata, if Busch Light's gone, he'll go for a Coors Light. So I know that for sure. Rumor has it you two might be in the same neck of the woods. So we'll get to that too in a minute. Let me do this. It's about 4 o'clock on the 7th, Tuesday. And every Tuesday at 4, thereabouts, just about every Tuesday, we hop on and talk about some hiring stuff, some leadership stuff, culture stuff, and a lot of other things that just kind of roll on the road and we go after. So next week, I don't know who I have on next week, but if it's not next week, the following week, I've got my nephew on for National Police Officer Week. And he's been a officer. He was a state trooper. Now he's a sheriff. He's looking to be a detective, I think, soon. My tough thing with that is debating whether or not we should record that, not go live, just in case I don't want to ruin Christmas or something like that for the family, in case he says something maybe that, or I do, that ruins his career. So we'll have to think about that a little bit, but we'll probably ride the horse bareback and just go after it. We'll figure it out. Real quick, let me go over some boring stuff with labor market things that I'm seeing. Hire, Lead, and Chill, for those of you that don't know, a couple of us are running Hire, Lead, and Chill, which is a recruiting company for the home service industry, blue collar, high turnover type industries. And we place thousands and thousands of not just technicians, but mainly technicians, but we've done ops managers, sales, and some other things as well, office help, customer service, and so on. And we are just executing really, really highly right now. We've really fine-tuned some things in. So the ship is starting to tilt. When we started this almost a decade ago, I never even mentioned the word boosting or sponsoring, because you could go on Indeed and Facebook and 700 applications overnight, 500 applications overnight. This was like 8-9 years ago. So that's how it was. And we talked more about how do you screen through all that. And we grew the business pretty quickly the first year. Like most businesses probably grow pretty quickly the first year. We were the only player in the game at that point too, but we've carved a sort of a road for some competition, which is good because that just helps the industry, keeps us on our toes. So all good there. But we really talk about how do you have time as a business owner getting through 500 applications. You've got to find the 1 or 2 you need to hire. How do you do that? You better have some systems put in place, probably some automation, because it's going to take a long time to get there. Because the thing about that is, if you get 200 or 300 applications and you only need to hire 2, God forbid that you're going resume after resume after resume, and the second to last resume is the best one in there because he's going to have another job by the time you get to it. So we've got a whole system set up for that, a really cool proprietary scoring system. So that's kind of where we're headed again. We've been lingering around, 3.4% was kind of the low unemployment rate nationally, which we haven't seen that. It was, I think, April and maybe January. But we haven't seen that since literally since we put a man on the moon. That's how long ago we were at 3.4%. So it's ticking up. We're getting close to 4% now. It's lingering between 3.8, 3.9 at one time. So I always talk about if we can get back to that 4%, it'll be a little bit more relaxing, not quite as hectic. But again, with technology and AI and all the things that are coming around, you need to move quickly, especially for technicians. Technicians, you go on Indeed, they hit quick apply, quick apply, quick apply, quick apply, quick apply. They just tap that button on their phone and they've applied to 10 places. So it's the name of the game is getting to them quickly, getting them through whatever screening process you put them through. And if you don't have one, please get a hold of me and we can talk about that. And that's it. So we've got a platform we have, a CRM, we call it a candidate relationship management tool, and it's treated just like a customer one, because anything that you give me with a sentence in it that says marketing, I'll take the word marketing out of there, throw the word recruiting, and that sentence works every single time. So, all right, that's all the boring stuff for now. We just got back from CryptoCon, by the way, so I've got some stuff going on with Christmas lights, which is cool. But let's bring in my good man, Michael Maharas here. How you doing, Michael?
Hey, what's going on, Shawn?
You are, my man. You are. You got all kinds of cool things to talk about, man. I think we did meet briefly a couple years ago. You might not remember, but it was like a real brief thing. Somebody said, "Hey, this is Michael. This is Shawn. Hi, how you doing?" And then like somebody tapped one of us, and that was about it. So I'm glad you're on, man. Hopefully we can maybe talk a little bit more. I might go out to Minnesota one day and out by Plata to visit him. Maybe we'll get together.
I'd love that. Yeah, we'd love to host you in the state.
That'd be awesome. I've been to Minnesota once. We did a little bit of fishing and ate a lot of meat, man. we ate a lot of meat when I was there. Dan was cooking up some tacos. We went out a couple times, so it was really cool. Really cool. Minnesota, nice. It's a nice place, man. How long have you been there? Were you born in Florida?
It gets pretty wild around here, and like the first quarter of the year, it's pretty cold, and then we love our summer, so like we pretty much like we only exist outside for about 4 months a year, and then the rest of us kind of make our way inside. We're kind of inside kids.
Yeah, you're either ice fishing or you're inside, right? True. You guys get down to like minus 20 and stuff crazy like that, don't you?
Yeah, it gets pretty wild. So like there's people that like kind of ask us like, "Hey, aren't you like part of Canada and Minnesota?" Like, no, we're actually one of the 50 union states, but yeah, it's cold.
That's you, and you got more lakes than pretty much any state out there, right? I mean, you're like, other than maybe Michigan. I mean, you guys have got lakes everywhere you turn.
Yeah, I think so. We're the land of 10,000 lakes is kind of what our catchphrase is, and we actually have almost as many golf courses. I guess I've come to only find that out that lakes and golf courses are kind of the popular activities.
All right.
Bad accents. We mess up our vowels pretty bad. If you can.
That you do. That I know. Every now and again, I'm from Ohio, and every now and again, somebody will ask me if I'm from Minnesota for some reason. We must not be too far off in the vowels.
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and let my audience here find out who you are, man.
Yeah. So name is Mike, as you kind of already just got to hear. So I operate a window cleaning, pressure washing business in Minnesota. I kind of have a weird story about how we got into this business. So myself and my wife.
Tell it.
Yeah. So like I said, it's not usual. So my wife and myself, Ashley, we were corporate kids. Did the college thing. We met in college. Worked really hard through college. Graduated, no debt. Went in, bought a recession house, rehabbed it, had kids, just tried everything in every way to just, chase that American dream and really get as far out front at as young of an age as possible. And it was probably like 2000, I probably would say about 2013 when we actually found out that we were having twins, that like, it became so crazy to think about. Like, we now have a 3-kid family. We're outnumbered in kids. We have done diligence to save up our retirement accounts and our 401ks. And we were just on the precipice of like taking our starter home and converting it into a rental property. And we really wanted to just kind of like make this big transition. And as it kind of like became almost evident at the same time we were ready to make this big change in like building, wealth in our family, we just really felt super dissatisfied with our existing employers. I was working so hard and had changed job titles like 5 times from like, an arguably front level position to like, a position that is probably right on the next step into that, early level executive kind of role in a pretty large company, right? Like level 3 was what it would be considered. And my wife was already working under the VP of finance. And she was working about as high up in a company of her size. But like, the more we thought about it, the more we're like, we're working hard and we've already worked really hard. And the thought of working harder and gaining what little gains, it just kind of became like a bad taste in our mouth. So we're like, okay, entrepreneurship is something that we both are ambitious people. We know that we have business acumen and skills. Let's look into, starting a business. And we first kind of traveled down like buying a business and like what is available for sale. And we actually came across a window cleaning business that was for sale. And after meeting with the guy, he really didn't have pretty broad business chops. He was running like a $300,000 or $400,000 business, and he couldn't even like show us like a P&L, like, because Ashley having a degree in accounting and finance, like he slid an income statement across the table when we were meeting, and like she jumped on it, all over it, and she's just looking at him, like asking him questions, and there was a lot of like, the more we asked questions of him, the more nervous he became, which like we're like, whoa. Okay, so maybe we shouldn't buy your business, but then we're like, wait a minute, like this guy can't business his way out of a wet paper towel.
Are you thinking he's hiding stuff, or are you thinking he's just doesn't know numbers at all?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's running a business that we would love to run of that size, and he's not qualified to do that. So it's like, we figured, heck, if you can grow a business from scratch to this, like we have some savings. It's window cleaning. It's not like we have to go to school or like get a bunch of licensure and do a bunch of extra steps like, any of the other trades. For the most part, it's evergreen. So we're like, let's start a window cleaning business. Then this is the funny part, right? We'd never cleaned a window in our life. We never hired a window cleaner to clean our own windows. We knew nothing about it. So we cashed in our entire life savings, quit our jobs to start this business. And like the first year was like, it bombed. Like we like $36,000 in total sales was like our first year.
Right. You're like you're doing a reverse E-Myth. You're supposed to be a technician, then you start to move up from there. You did it like the reverse E-Myth.
Yeah, I don't even know, man. They could write a book about what we did, and like I hope nobody ever does it the way we did, because it was crazy. Looking back on it, especially. But here we are. We now operate a business that we're probably going to be like, somewhere between 700 and 800 in sales this year. We have 4 crews out in the field. Ash and I are 100% removed from that frontline position. We have a full-time production manager that operates below us and curates the front line in the customer experience. And I think we have now 8 full-time technicians, and we're seasonal with Minnesota. So, it fluctuates where we'll go somewhere between 3 full-time to 8 full-time over the course of the year. But yeah, it's been a different business now than when we started it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now you started in window cleaning. What have you expanded into outside of just the window cleaning?
Yeah, so we soft washing, pressure washing, all kind of the gambit that falls within the scope of exterior cleaning. 2 years ago, we got into Christmas light installation, and then we're really just kind of looking for a way to just kind of round out. Like right now for our business, we just had this giant donut hole in the first quarter. And I think for us, it's that first quarter gap in just revenue isn't a problem, right? It's a gap in everything. People don't want to work 9 months of the year. There's enough people that we found that are willing to go on unemployment, but again, nobody wants to take a 60 or 40% haircut on their salary just so they can go ice fishing. Well, maybe Dan would. Yeah, there's numerous challenges with that kind of seasonality. So we're working to try and round it out as best we can right now.
And Christmas lights helps at least a little bit with that for a couple months.
Yep. Christmas lights gets us almost, 2 weeks into December, and then we're taking down starting in January. So, we're just, but it's really that February, and this year was a good March because we had good weather, but many years it's been bad weather in March. So the first quarter,
if you look into getting into like snow plowing and stuff, man, that's a whole different animal. And it's that's even more unpredictable on what's going on and people on call and all that stuff. That's a rough business to be in.
Yeah. Plowing's we didn't want to do that.
Yeah. So your first year was kind of crazy. It wasn't like, like everybody's first year. I don't know of anybody that, here we're going to be right here our first year, and then they're like way up here doubling what they thought they were going to do. It's always the other way around. Everything costs more. There's more mistakes. Did you go through any type of coaching or training program, or you guys were comfortable just kind of getting things figured out? What would that look like?
No, we did. We went through coaching programs.
Okay.
So that first year was kind of just a beat up session. The second year we did get our legs under us, and we went from like 36 to like 110, and then did another year that, right around the same number. But it was like once we kind of started getting plugged into like the online social media groups in that third year, we went to like 250. And then it was like that fourth year is when we joined a mastermind. So at the time it was called BBB.
Yep.
Mike Kaplan, Mike Dahlke, and all the other folks that operate the huge convention put on that group. Bobby Walker, bless the guy, he was the one that made the introduction and got me kind of hooked into that group. We did a year and a half with Conquer. So we had a couple of different coaches in Conquer. But no, right now, well, and I should also say, like after we exited Conquer, I actually was accepted into, so the Small Business Administration, the SBA, actually operates a coaching program, and you can apply for it. It's called Thrive. So it's a year-long coaching program, almost identical to how Conquer was operated. And I did that last year. And then this year, we're just kind of taking a break from coaching, because what we ended up finding out is like getting the information. Yeah, it's expensive, but it's transferable, right? You just have to apply it. But you get this backlog of information and tools and techniques, and you spend a lot of time learning and not nearly enough time applying, where this year was a year where we just really wanted to dig our heels in and say, let's take a break from participating in coaching and masterminds and actually put our intention into executing on everything we've learned. And, it's not to say that we don't have a lot of sad feelings when it comes to the group gatherings and all of the great relationships that we've been able to maintain through by participating. But it's been a changeful year to actually take time to execute and just put forward what we've learned and practice it in the business.
Nice. And so with that said, how do you handle that difficult challenge of being a seasonal business, looking for seasonal type of employees to join your team? I'll just assume, and I might be wrong, obviously, but do you hang on to one or two guys all 12 months, or is it, how do you get those guys coming back and keeping that turnover down seasonally?
Yeah, so this is our 8th year in business, and we actually have our greatest tenured employee just celebrated his 4th year anniversary 2 weeks ago. So
Nice.
we have a tenured employee. Our production managers, I say it tongue in cheek, but he says he's going to retire with our business. So he's in it for the long haul. And some of the punishment I've seen this poor kid take with some of the experiences that I've gone through in the cold weather months, I tend to want to believe that he's going to be here for us a long time. But to directly answer your question, there's really 3 benefactors that have caused us to attract talent, right? So number one, 3 years ago, actually, we switched to a 4-day work week. So we operate 4 10s. And I think for us, it was loud and clear that there has to be some sort of differentiating factor. We realized that for somebody to take a risk on a business like ours, we need to be willing to shoulder the risk of conducting 5 days worth of work in a 4-day work week. So that's something that's been quite beneficial in attracting and retaining talent. We didn't have to run a single paid ad this year when we were bringing on staff.
Nice.
We had 4 new hires. We had 3 returners that worked with us last year. Well, so one that was his 2nd season, another, this is his 2nd season. So
okay,
it's been beneficial to actually have some tenure generated in the staff. But for the new folks, they really just said it was a 4-day work week and then pay on performance. So we have a pay on performance model, and we actually do it a little bit differently, where obviously things like rain in our business, that kind of sucks, and it's going to cause some disruption to the workflow. But we actually do a pay on performance where it's a guaranteed base and percentage commission, and they get whatever is the higher, right? So it's $180 a day guaranteed base. If the rain if it's cold or it's rainy or whatever the reason is that we can't fill your schedule, you'll never make less than $180 a day. But you know, our guys also average right around $27 an hour. And one of the other, and I would say arguably the biggest reason why we keep talent throughout the season is we have monthly one-on-ones with everybody, and we sit down. So just this week, starting on Monday and every day this week, my production manager would be sitting down with each one of the staff for a 15-minute one-on-one. And in there, we go through how they got to their earnings. So they see a big number of what they've earned total, like a pay stub, but then it shows a rolling hourly rate based on their hours tracked. And then it also shows a week by week breakdown. And then it also shows a gap, right? So like if there was any things that caused them to miss out any like of the accelerator pays. So we give a 2% accelerator bonus just for people willing to show up on time. If you show up on time, we'll give you 2% extra pay. And it seems silly, right? But it's like, we know that like people tend to have that difficulty showing up on time. So we're like, let's reward people that show up on time and just give them free money. So there's that thing that shows like whether or not they missed their bonuses and so on. And then also it's an opportunity for us to sit down and just talk through how we can develop them and work with them. So we don't have like a full like dream manager program in place.
Right.
But the first one-on-one of the season with everybody that started the first week of last month, we talked through all of your seasonal goals. So some of the guys gave like monetary numbers. They want to earn X dollars this year. One of the other guys, he said he wants to get it to buy his own place and get into his own place. So that was his goal. And we're just kind of trying to work through all of their problems, because it's like the more we realize that their problems are directly Washmaster's problems, the more it became the less it became an adversarial relationship. Like we really went around the other side of the table and we sit next to them.
That you hit it over the fence, and that I talk often about. There seems to be, and it's a perception. I talk about perception an awful lot. There's a perception out there that there is a contrast between an owner and an employee. The employee wants to make as much as they can, maybe a little bit more than what they're actually worth. And the business owner wants to pay as less as they can and keep their labor costs down to some extent. And maybe not quite pay as much as that guy might be worth sometimes. But not exactly like that. But there's a contrast, you know. There's certain ways that you know you've worked around that very nicely and addressed that. A couple things that I want to unpack on what you just laid out for us. The 4x10 work week. So 10 hours a day, 4 days. How do you hurdle that when there's 3 days of rain? Do we then go to, is it Monday through Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or Thursday? And then how does that, or you just 4 days, this is it, rain or shine?
No, I think for us, we want to be crystal clear that the largest burden of risk in operating this business is on myself and Ashley as the owners of the business, right? So if it ever comes into question about who's taking the risk in the company, we want it to be clear that it's us that takes that risk. Therefore, if we have Monday through Thursday and it's a hurricane, and Friday it's sunshine, like guess what? Everybody, we just took it on the chin, and that's the thing, right? But we also realize too that like these folks are making far more than $180 a day, and they're missing out on their opportunity to earn their percentage commission, and there's that shared responsibility, and we both want to maximize my earnings, and we both have that, I don't want to use the word like hallowed ground, but we have this common ground that we share between us, that we want that revenue. And if it's available, we want to grab our arms all the way around it and pull it in.
That's one of the several beauties of the performance pay and the commission pay, man. It's beautiful. You give yourself a raise much easier when you're producing and your client is happy. So that quality is there too, that great balance between the two, right? Those that produce that way and that quality, it's a lot easier to raise the price next year on Mrs. Jones when that happens. And if you're raising the price on Mrs. Jones, you're getting a higher percentage or maybe the same percentage, but of a higher dollar amount. You've given yourself a raise. It's just, a beautiful thing. And to your point, yeah, we're in this together. We need to make money. If it was raining 2 days, you guys, we could probably make some money. What do you think? $180 isn't real, doesn't make them happy when they're used to making, double that or somewhere in there. So makes a lot of sense. Do you also work performance pay, Mike, with Christmas lights?
Yeah. So it's performance pay across all of our services. So it varies based on service. So some of our higher ticket services, the percentage is less, but it has a broader payout. With Christmas lights, we have to back out material costs for the lights. Yeah. So that ends up being a little bit less, but it's a much higher ticket price. But for us, there was kind of an interesting circumstance that we had to really confront. So we actually 2 years ago had a 40% price increase because we had to go and we had to flush out that bottom 80% of our customers, right? The 80-20 rule. 20% of our revenue or 80% of our revenue is coming from our top 20% of our customers, and it happens without fail. And that bottom 80% of customers, that bottom 20%, they're the ones that cost us the absolute least amount or cost us the most amount of money to service. And we had to offload those. And we don't want to ever say, no, we don't want to work with you. But we had to, like I said, we had to kind of change that. Well, for us, it made our team get paid better, right? Because they all started getting paid better when we had a big price increase. And then we had another, I think, 20% price increase last year. So we're up 60%, over the last 3 years, which is great. But then this year, when we came into the spring, we're like, we're a little out of whack. So we actually had to come down 15%. And Ashley, being a finance professional, she's really watching it really closely because the one thing, if we go and change the prices downward, that means the team's getting a pay cut. And for us, we weren't willing to give them a pay cut. And she's watching it job by job, making sure that every one of these technicians doesn't fall below that average that we've kind of set. Because the alternative, we would have had to raise commissions, plain and simple. And we would have had to take on that because, like I said, the owners should take on the risk. And when things are incredibly successful around Washmasters, it will be pretty clear why we deserve the distributions at the end of the year. And they should be celebrating it, right?
Yep, absolutely. What do you do for your team as far as developing, whether it's professional development or personal development?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There's been a lot of challenge trying to figure out what works in this scenario, right? Because we're such a transactional type of business. The greatest benefit we can do to our team is get them the absolute best tools, make sure that they operate with the highest level of efficiency, and make sure that their training is succinct and to the point, and not take them away from the opportunities to earn, right?
Right.
That's the core of what we do. To step back and say, well, what is it that we can do to further, dream manage and develop people and help them progress through life is really taking the time to ask the serious questions. So one of the things we do is we have everybody fill out a survey. It's not like one of those personality or DISC assessments.
Right.
Actually more just hey, tell me a little bit about you. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite candy? What do you love? What's your favorite movie? All the things that and we actually stole this from Rob Anderson, to tell the honest truth.
Yeah.
And what we did is we just took the time to really care. One of my past VPs in the company I worked at, he said, no one cares what you know until they know you care, right? And I think that for us is the one thing that we do consistently is we care about our staff. We care about their well-being, and we really make sure that when we when they tell us something, that we retain it and we use it to their benefit. I show up with Red Bulls. I've definitely gotten some people some Twins tickets, and there's a lot about what you can do.
It goes a long way to spend a couple bucks cooking your team breakfast on a Monday morning, or like you said, tickets or whatever it is, Red Bulls, and showing up. And we just get so caught up in the busyness and sometimes the social media. You go to kid yourself that you're doing something or looking something up on Facebook. A half hour goes by, 20 minutes goes by, and you're just caught there. I mean, that happens, I know, to so many people out there, including business owners. And it's, again, everything that you just talked about, you could have, taken the word recruiting out of there, or taking care of employees and put in customers or prospective customers. The things I see companies and business owners do to jump through hoops for a prospective client or a customer is mind-boggling to me, compared to what they don't do for their employees. I've always said, what's a ticket for a residential home cleaning thing? $2,000, $1,500, somewhere in there anyway, residential. And what's your window cleaners and your techs produce? Over $100,000, $160,000, $170,000 of revenue, and you're going to treat 2,000. That's, how do you dispute that? You're talking hundreds of percent, maybe thousands of percent difference. I need Plata with a spreadsheet to figure that out, but it's a lot. Yeah. It's just a ton of dough, and I always, when I'm talking to people on demos, or I'm talking to my clients about some stuff and trying to coach with them, I always try to say and talk about, if a homeowners association president called you up on the phone and said, hey, I've got 50 houses that have confirmed that if I go look for a window cleaning company, they confirm they're going to use this window cleaning company, how about it? Do you mind if I come to your office tomorrow? You're not sleeping that night. You're looking in the mirror. You're rehearsing what you're going to say. You're thinking, this is crazy. Right? And when that lady comes or that dude comes in, and he's the president of the association, hi, sir, we got coffee for you. I've got some fruit. I've got some this. What can I help you with? What can I serve you? Let's sit down, and your truck's spotless. Your office is spotless. You're spotless. You're clean shaved. Why are we not doing that during group interviews or interviews with candidates and with our employees? It's that's how I put it. And I think that goes a long way. If you can get that, I hate the word mindset because we all use it today, but if you could get that perception and understand, and look through the lens of your employees a little bit and kind of see what they see and hear what they hear and understand them. One of the things that I took a lot of time, I went through a lot of crazy shit when I turned 50, which was 6 years ago. I sold my business. I had been self-employed more than half my life at that time. And I kind of lost my identity, and I never saw it coming, man. I never thought about it, never saw it coming, and things changed. And like, my wife and I were married for 20 years at that time. That made 25 years at that time. And it's like, we've got this extra maybe 4 hours together we really never had before. And she'd just do her thing, and I'm going, hey, what are we going to do? And after like 2 weeks, she's like, go fix something or clean something. I'm cooking dinner, what the hell you want from me? And then my daughter was getting at an age where she's going behind the bedroom door and I'm not hearing from her anymore. And I'm just I'm looking around. Well, who am I, man? What am I doing here? What's going on? And so, I really took into consideration some things. And one of the things that I really found, and that helps me at least, is just try, especially with employee stuff, is trying to be present. And just trying to be like, in the now. I'm here right now. I'm not thinking about other things. When I'm talking to my wife, it's an amazing thing to hear what she's actually saying, and having a conversation and asking questions and actually being there, not thinking about business and not thinking about employees and all those sort of things. And then when an employee's talking to you, I've had employees where I'm going, what's going on, man? Shit's changing, and you need to straighten up. Well, my mom, I just found out she's got cancer. I don't know what people are going through. Maybe if I just had that, that idea that maybe, just maybe, I should ask how they're doing before I say, what's going on? What do you need to do this? You need to be this. You need to act this. just kind of feel what they're feeling, see what they're seeing, and then take it from there. And I do a presentation for recruiting, and when I go around, and I talk about that, and I talk about that for the first 15 or 20 minutes of my presentation, because I think it's that important. And I always bring the example of the group interview, and how are you treating people when they're coming in for interviews. So let's talk a little bit about that stuff. Let's get into first. We talked a little bit about some leadership stuff. What about your culture, Mike? What's been going on with that, and where are you at with that? And you're eight years deep, coming up on a decade here pretty soon. I'm assuming it's changed a little bit.
Yeah. Culture is one of those things. I think if you aren't paying attention to your culture, you might as well not pay attention to anything else in your business. And I think what's even funnier is there's layers to culture, right? So there's culture between Ash and I as owners, and then there's cultures between Ash and I and Joey as a management team, and then there's cultures of the front line versus the management team. And I think what you have to appreciate is they're not gonna talk to you the same. So my frontline staff is not going to talk to me the same way that they're going to talk to Joey. And I also don't get the same opportunity to talk to them the same way that I talk to Joey. And I've had to learn that, right? Where it was easy when I was working directly with the front line before we had somebody that was a part of the management team. And the one time so Joey's actually our second production manager. The first one we had, I probably cut him off at the knees 27 times a week. And it was bad, right? And I didn't even realize I was screwing things up that bad. But I was undermining him. I was talking directly to the team rather than speaking through him and using him and giving him authority. And many times I wasn't even empowering him. And you take a look at all of those lessons and failures I had with him, and I changed it with Joey. And I've empowered Joey. Joey has decision authority. He is allowed. And I think beyond just that, of course, it's cliche, but it's core values, right? And for us, we really take our core values seriously. And for us, it's this acronym. It's our Washmaster SOAP, right? So S is sweat the details. We're in a cleaning business, so you got to pay attention to the smallest details. But it's really the O and the A for us that matter the most. It's open communication. And we say it like this, information flows freely through our business. Nobody should be surprised by anything in your company. If all of a sudden conversations are being had behind closed doors with a management team, and then you drop it on somebody out of nowhere that you're going to be putting them on discipline or you're going to just terminate them, what happened to the 29 other examples that led up to that time? Why blindside somebody? Share information freely, speak openly about what's happening. But then flip side is the A is accountability, right? Is we're allowed to make mistakes, but it is unacceptable to shrug responsibility. No one's allowed to shrug responsibility. And our P is our passion to serve, right? We're in a service business, so you got to actually be willing and enjoy serving people. But it extends serving each other, right? So I have to be excited to serve my team. My team has to be excited to serve our customers. And, as you kind of put those all together and you really explain what the culture at Washmasters is, it's a group of people that understand that we're all going to do things that we're not necessarily going to like all the time. But there's going to be some times that when we all come together, it's going to be a lot less painful because we know we have a safety in this mass group, right? We're not all individuals living on these islands.
Right. It's I just totally agree with what you say with culture. Not only if you don't get it, but even if you've put effort and time into creating a culture, if you allow one person to tear it away and you don't do something quickly about it, it's very difficult to get it back, because to your point, you start to lose trust. and people don't feel so good about somebody, they start talking about people. They're wondering why this person's getting away with things. And it just, I mean, it is literally a cancer that goes through your business, whether you've got 2 employees or 22 employees. And it is hard to reel that culture back in and get it back in on straight on the road.
Absolutely. Well, what you don't even appreciate as a business owner, right? You can buy nearly everything for your business. You could buy a reporting system, SOPs. You can hire staff. You can do all of this stuff, but you can't buy your culture. There is not a check you can write that's going to actually get a culture instilled in your business. It actually comes through diligence and hard work.
Yep. And it is hard work, and it needs to be every day. If you don't talk about it often and you don't cite examples of it often, it does start to get away. Even if you're not having a bad apple tearing it apart as an employee, owners can have bad days, and owners can be going through stress and forget about those things. So we talk about systems and processes, and we all hear those words all the time. I think it's really advisable to put a system and a process together on how you're checking your culture, making sure it's where it needs to be and how it needs to be, and everybody understands it before it gets away from you. Because once it does, man, like I said, it's hard to reel it back in. One of the things that we do too is we've got an acronym for our core value is PLOW, because our culture is plow horses, not show horses. And one of the things that we do, we do this in group interviews, and we say, here's our culture. We're plow horses, not show horses. But I always tell people when I'm explaining this to clients and how we do it and how you might want to try it is, it's never about the company. It's never about me. And it's not even about the community or clients. Everything we talk about is employee focused. And so I call it an employee focused culture, because I've got business owners that have said, our culture is we're going to take care of clients this, we're going to do this for clients, and then we're going to do this for, and I'm going, where's your employees in all this? So I call it an employee focused culture, just to remind people it should be about the culture of your team and your employees and the family you've got there that you're cutting checks to every week or so. And one of the things that we say is plow horses, not show horses. Plow horse for each other. You've got to be there for each other, because a plow horse might have to grab somebody one day that's not feeling real good, and maybe you didn't get any sleep, your kids were up or something. Whatever it is, you're going to have to load somebody up on the cart, man, and just plow through it and help them out, because they're going to do that for you one day, and they're going to be there for you. It has nothing to do with you got to work your ass off cleaning windows for the customer and that's, blah, blah, blah. That's not anything what it's about. It's for each other, And then we get into the PLOW, PLOW is ours, and it's positive attitude, And I always tell, this isn't a platitude, man. This isn't like, hey, get out there, have a team, go after it, bud. Okay, be positive now. It's a moral obligation to be positive at all times here, because nobody wants somebody kicking dirt and coming in and bitching and griping. That's not fair to everybody else that wants to, be positive and stuff. Now, if somebody's looking down a little bit or kicking dirt a little bit, and normally they're really upbeat, you know what? Maybe we need to go over there and take care of them a little bit and start asking what's going on. And that's the other part of it. It's all about the team. So I'm into culture big time. Have you had culture like I'm sure your culture at the first 1 or 2 years is different today than it was then. What was sort of the process in that?
Yeah, like the transformation of culture in our business really came down to understanding your company's identity, right? So like there was a period of time in the early years where like Ash and I were Washmasters, and Washmasters was Ashley and I, right? And then we hired our first employee, and like Shane wasn't Ashley and me. Like we couldn't just say, and arguably also Shane wasn't Washmasters. Shane was employed by Washmasters. So we had like this like sterile, like non-existent identity as a business. Like we had a brand, but we didn't have an identity.
Yeah.
And that's what changed progressively is like, well, we asked ourselves, like, what is our identity, right? Well, we are a business that actually wants to pay people well. We take tons of pride knowing that we are arguably paying better than any other window cleaning and pressure washing business in our state. And we would be willing to put our reputation up against any other company in the country doing our line of work, because it is so critical that people can make money. And we know it. We run a business, right? We know things are expensive, and we have at least the flexibility and opportunity to earn more, right? Because we're like, well, screw it, we'll just do more marketing. Well, an employee can't just market more, right? So there's that piece of like having well-paid people. We also want our people to be safe. We want to have our customers know that like their home is in safe hands, and our employees are safe doing the work. So we're not running around on ladders. We put heavily into water-fed poles, and we buck the trend. And people say you can't clean windows on the outside first time cleans with a water-fed pole. But yes, we can. And because we're not going to put our team into dangerous positions. We also, like, when people do have to get on ladders, we have a 2-person ladder rule. Like, somebody is at the bottom holding the dang ladder. Because I promise you, I've been on a ladder enough times where I'm like looking down, hoping that what I did was safe.
Right.
Yeah, you just go down the path and you just kind of start taking the Lego blocks and you build them up together until all of a sudden you can step back and you're like, that's what we are. That is what Washmasters is. And we were lucky this year because we actually hired one of our friends' daughters, and now we got to see what we've built. All of a sudden now they're advocates of Washmasters, and she's telling them how great it is to work for us. And we were scared, right? We were terrified that we were going to make that big change and take a big risk by hiring a friend and a family member, right? You know how great that is, right? But we were confident that we were ready to take that risk because we knew what we built in the company that we operate. She should work for. You're absolutely right. You will be well paid. And thank you for referring your daughter to work for us.
Beautiful, beautiful. What did you do some coaching at all, or no? You never got into coaching or anything like that, right? What would you?
No, I mean, I've worked on some projects, but I've never been an actual coach while in my business.
Right. And so what would you tell somebody that is either trying to get out of the truck, or maybe they've got, Dan and I talk an awful lot, especially Dan talks a lot about those platitudes, right? We've got it, it's kind of, you get a platitude where you're trying to get out of the truck, you're trying to train, you're trying to, make sure sales are going and doing all those things. So that's sort of one of the purgatories, right? Not platitudes, purgatories. Mm-hmm. And so you bust through that one, and now it's like, okay, great. Now I got to get another truck, and I got to hire 2 guys. I'm not quite sure how to do that right. And then one quits. Now I'm back in the truck now. So there's another purgatory. Then you need office help eventually when you get to 5 or 6 or 7. What would you tell somebody? And how did you get through some of that stuff and some of those purgatories where, maybe a guy that's in his first year or 2 could take a couple gold nuggets from you, Mike, if I'm not putting you on the spot too much here?
No, I'm happy to share this because it's something I probably care the most about, is that it's painful, right? I'm going to be the first to tell you every step of the purgatories of business is painful. And it is on a 10 scale, it's like a high 8. 10, pain you can go through as you transition through each step of it, right? So it's not just a make it pain one first. So make friends with the pain, right? That would be my first kind of recommendation, is be friends with your pain going through. And also at the same time, be dissatisfied being in that spot. Use that pain that you're going through and the failures that you're experiencing to motivate you to find an answer, right? Don't just accept that it's going to be, oh my gosh, I failed and it's done, right? Because I've made that mistake already. We probably missed out on $200,000 in revenue because we had a couple of hard knocks, and then I was, whoa, nope, not doing that ever again. Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Right.
And then I would really kind of just close it out and say the greatest advice I could give to anybody that's in that first, second, and third stage of business is really look at your business like it's a business, and understand that there is certain universal rules that apply to every and all business. And if you can, in fact, take the time to understand how to run a business as much as you've taken time to understand the technical work you do, you're going to fly through things much faster than anybody that's willing to just buy a $30,000 skid or go hire $40,000 marketing agency. Like none of them are going to teach you how to be a business.
Yeah,
They're going to be businesses themselves.
Yep. With again, one more thing here, one or two more things, and then we'll wrap it up. But one of the things I find, and I've done this as well, and I think probably everybody has. That's human. It's really, I find it easier to be honest with other people, but sometimes Shawn's got a problem looking in the mirror and being really, really honest. And I think, I don't know if it's, and I talk to a lot of small business owners trying to get through these gates and purgatories, and you got to go. We found you 3 hires using the same process that we've used for 100 and some other clients this month, or whatever. Why did 3 of them quit, or why did 2 of them quit? There must be something going on somewhere. And we talk about what are 5 reasons somebody would want to work with your company, or 3 reasons, and I get we pay good, and it's like you're digging for answers, and I got to go. We got to look in the mirror here, man. We gotta help you with culture. We got to look at pay or something. We've got to see what's going on, because you've got to make this job sticky. These people, the way they answered, the way we screened them, the way you say that you interviewed them, they should be hanging around. There's something going on here that we need to take a look in the mirror, because 99.9, 100% of the time, it's the owner that needs to look in the mirror and change something that's going on typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, ask them to be honest and say, would you work for you?
Yep. Dude, I've got one that I came up with like a year ago. I'm like, all right, I've got 3 ads that I've got here. Here's yours, and here's 3 others. Which one would you have your son or daughter apply for? And if it's not yours, man, you got a problem. Okay. If it's not, you be honest about it. And some of the things I hear with ads, and I think a lot of small businesses make a mistake. And I used to do this too before I understood how to recruit better, and took a lot of time to learn from smarter people than me and all that. It's, you're just trying to screen too much. The one that I love the most, I think, is you've got to be well spoken. And I'm going, they're cleaning windows, right? Are you paying them to recite Shakespeare after this, or what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. I'd rather have somebody with a little twang or a little whatever, and be polite and nice, and maybe use the word ain't. That's okay. I get that you want somebody professional, and I understand that, but there's a certain circle of job candidates in your labor market. And the smaller you make that for ridiculous reasons, the harder it's going to be to find somebody that's could be a really good producer for you. So I just caution people to don't make that circle too much smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely
right. It's okay to screen the hell out of them. I don't mind screening them after after the job, but it's a job ad. It's supposed to be an ad to attract people to apply. And you need to have a really good screening system if you get a lot of applicants, that's okay. I live under the theory that it's just like marketing. And I always say this, here's your job ad. Now look at your website. Again, it's just like marketing. Does your website say, if you're going to be a cheapskate, don't call us? If you're going to bitch about something, are you going to call us? Don't call, no. So why are you doing this stuff on your job ad? Have a good screening system, ask the right questions, interview properly, and take it from there. But Mike, is there anything else you can lay out to somebody that's just, maybe looking at the corner a little bit going, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah, I mean, just be patient, right? Like there's also no substitution for patience. I think I put a social media post, which I had a couple of people, by the way, Dan Plata, evidently Dan, everything can happen fast and it's hard. And Dan's actually, I joke because Dan's actually one of my buddies here, but the point I want to make is it's always going to be most likely less difficult than you're making out to be. Look at what you're working through, and it's most likely less difficult than you're assuming it's going to be. Conversely, probably expect it's going to take quite a bit longer than you're giving it credit for, right? Because it takes a while to build important big things. and your first go around building is probably not going to be the greatest thing. Like Washmasters had to go through like 7 evolutions, and we're probably going to go through another 7 more, and it will happen year over year because you're going to be willing to like be dissatisfied with what you're doing right now because you know what you're going to do right now is most likely not the best way of doing it, but you're willing to at least take the time to learn.
Yep. I love it. And it's a little bit of a platitude, but you don't learn unless there's, shitty things happening to you. Your character isn't your character. It's all a theory until shitty things happen to you. Right. I know I'm this until shitty things happen. Then we'll find out, how you are and what you're going to do and how you're going to get through it. So I'm at a point in my life at 56 where if things are going good and it's going smooth, I'm going, I need something shitty to happen because I'm feeling a little too content, man. I need some challenge, something shitty to happen so I can fall down, get up and learn. And I dig that, I really, I don't mind that very much anymore like I used to when I, 10, 15 years ago and stuff like that. So Mike, thanks for hopping on, man. I appreciate it. You were phenomenal. Love it. If there's anything that you guys need, or you need to reach out to Mike because you heard something that you're kind of scratching your head about and you'd like to get more info, he's on Facebook. Message him. He'll be around, and I know for sure he'll reach out to you and help in any way he can, just like I will. Anybody out there that needs any employees, let me know. If you just want to rap about culture, I'd love to do that. We're helping. We're putting together. We're just getting to the finish line of really putting together something cool on culture, core values, some leadership stuff. Because I think there's a little bit of a void in small businesses with some of that stuff, and we just want to help, especially culture. We talked a lot about that. Mike and I did today, so I appreciate that, Mike. And that's it. We're going to be around next Tuesday. I can't remember who, maybe a cop, maybe not. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know. We'll be posting stuff about it. And about it. Have a good day, everybody.